Okay, I'm going to begin as a talk about adapting to the changes coming, actually the disruptions coming to the commercial brokerage industry. Disruption is coming to our industry. Disruption is also called creative destruction. Disruption is not simply change. Disruption, well, let me give an example of change. In 1983, the first mobile phone was produced. It was heavy, it was a big brick. It was expensive, it cost $4,000, but it was a cell phone. And in the past 40 years since that date, cell phones have become smaller, more powerful. All you could do in 1983 was make a phone call. Now you have a mini computer in your hand, but it's still a mobile phone. That's change. That's not disruption. So disruption is a whole new way of doing things. Here's an example of disruption. What happened to the people who used to sit in booths in the parking lot downstairs as you exited the parking lot? Do you think their lives were disrupted? What else changed when the parking operator changed from people to machines? You can't move your car every 2 hours anymore as you could before because the machine gets your license number and knows that you've already gotten 2 hours free.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Here are some more examples of disruption. In April 2018, the city of Orlando approved Uber and Lyft to operate in their city. The 80-year-old local taxi company, which had a monopoly on the people transport business in the city, was forced to react by selling off its 20-acre site to an industrial developer and cutting back its 1,200 car fleet to 400. That's disruption. Disruption means a whole new way of doing things. How many of you have an encyclopedia at home that you have opened and used in the past 10 years? What about an atlas or Thomas guide? Disruption has occurred, right? Disruption also means didn't see that coming. It often occurs quickly and massively. Who foresaw that within a single decade, banks would go from building massive marble lobbies and buildings on expensive downtown corners to incentivizing you not to visit the bank and to use mobile deposits? What happened to Blockbuster? When was the last time you went to a video store? That's disruption. So is disruption a good thing or a bad thing? It depends. How do you feel if I tell you that creative destruction or disruption is coming to the 125-year-old commercial brokerage industry? This is a crucial question to ponder as I continue this lecture. You might be shocked to hear that disruption really is coming. A handful of powerful forces are poised to have a disruptive effect on our industry, and I'm going to discuss them as we move on. There are three forces that will have a major effect on all businesses. So we'll get them out of the way because the forces I'm going to talk about are specific to the commercial brokerage industry. The first global disruption is economic upheaval. We are in perilous times economically. In the 224 years since the beginning of the Republic to the year 2000, over 42 presidential administrations, the US ran up a national debt of 5.7 trillion. I don't know if you can see the line. It's a steady line from 1776 up till 2000. In the ensuing 23 years, over 4 administrations, the country incurred an additional national debt of 25.7 trillion, 5 times the amount accumulated over the first 224 years. Hence, our national debt is now in excess of $31 trillion. Think of what that means to our debt service over the past 23 years. Servicing the national debt is taking a larger and larger portion of our annual national budget. In the last few months, the M2 money supply went negative for the first time in 33 years. I don't want to get too deep in the woods on this topic. We could spend hours just on monetary policy, but suffice it to say that something needs to be done or taxes are going to have to go through the roof to be able to meet our debt service and all the other entitlement payments. This could, and there's a strong likelihood that it will, create a national depression that some economists say will be greater than the last one. The second force that will affect every business is demographics. Baby boomers are retiring and dying. Gen X and Gen Y, smaller in size, are replacing them, along with a massive influx of immigrants, many of whom are not highly educated or skilled. So while the population is enlarging, the body of skills is shrinking. As an example, in Charlotte right now, there are 300 unfilled professional engineering jobs. This sort of thing is true all over the country. It is hard to find, hard to fill skilled jobs. If you want to learn more about the effect the skills gap will have on our economy, you should read Mark Lautman's book, When the Boomers Bail, a Community Economic Survival Guide. Another demographic factor is that the birth rate in the US has dropped for 5 years. Let me just shut my phone up here. Birth rate in the US has dropped for 5 years in a row and is now at the lowest point 32 years. The current level of births is below the rate at which generations replace themselves. This will lead to a significant shortage of skilled human resources in the future. And the third global disruption is war, global conflict. It's likely that China will invade Taiwan sometime in the next several months. And we have to decide what our response is going to be. These are global factors that will affect everyone in the world. Now let's get specific about what the disruption to the commercial brokerage industry will look like. The first disruption is going to come from client evolution. So how might our clients evolve? Most of our clients in the commercial brokerage business have learned to use technology successfully in other parts of their businesses, and they will bring those skills to the brokerage industry. When I started in the real estate business in the 1970s, the way you found out the owner of a property was to go downtown to the Hall of Records and check out a microfiche of the property and try to find the book and map page to get the information. I don't know if any of you even know what a microfiche is. If you wanted to find out how much they paid for a property, you also had to get a microfiche of the recorded documents and look at the deed and find out if there were any tax stamps on it so you could tell what they paid. This was a tedious process. And, you know, for us who were in Beverly Hills at the time, you had to go downtown, you had to go to the Hall of Records, wait in line to check out stuff. It took forever to get the information. We can now get instantly on our phones or our computers. There was no internet at that time. You kept your database on Rolodex or 3x5 cards. Transparency is coming to our industry. Clients are going to have access to the same information we have. They will not need us to locate properties for them. Will commercial brokers experience the same thing that happened to travel agents? If you wanted to travel somewhere, you called your travel agent, told them when you wanted to leave and return, relied on them to book your flight, hotel, and rental car. And if you were traveling by car, you went to the AAA and they prepared a triptych, a series of pages showing your route on maps. There was no GPS. There also were no fax machines, which are also now in themselves almost obsolete. Cell phones, personal computers, laser printers, or of course the internet. We had none of that. Today, so much information is directly available to the traveler. He can communicate directly with the airline, hotel, and rental car companies himself. He can do it quickly and without much effort. This open platform of information is called transparency. Transparency had the effect of reducing the number of travel agents from 132,000 in 1990 to about 36,000 in 2022. Transparency caused a major disruption in the travel agency business. Even the legal profession has experienced some disruption. If you wanted to prepare a will, you used to have to call your lawyer, give him all the information, wait a couple of weeks while he had his staff draft the will, and then you paid him a relatively large fee for doing it. Today, you can go to LegalZoom or similar online legal form companies, download a will form, modify it to your specific requirements, and finalize it all in a single afternoon and all for a nominal fee. What about stockbrokers? You all remember the days when if you wanted to make a stock trade, you had to call your stockbroker. He would execute the trade and charge you a fee of roughly 2% for doing it. Today, you can go online and execute trades on your own without having to use a stockbroker and only pay $7 in fees per trade. The implication, the widespread transparency of data in the commercial real estate field is already a fact. Anyone can subscribe to CoStar, Reonomy, Real Capital Analytics, title records, or any number of data sources. The sophisticated buyer today has already seen videos of the property, scrutinized the floor plans and site plan, evaluated the ownership and price history of the property, checked comparable sale prices and rents, looked at the credit rating of tenants, received an online quote for property insurance, and has reviewed traffic patterns at the site. These days, when these are services, the days when these were services only you could provide to the buyer are over, or nearly over. Soon, buyers will be contacting owners or listing brokers directly. And that means fewer buyer rep assignments. Once buyers perceive that they can conclude a transaction without the need for a broker, and that acting alone saves them money, they are highly likely to act. So what will this mean to our industry? One, fewer agents. Those agents who haven't built personal relationships and are dependent on mass marketing for their buyers will be the agents most easily replaced by transparency. Customers can obtain the same information online, which is likely to be more comprehensive and more contextualized than receiving a flyer or offering memorandum from an agent with whom they have no relationship. The second change in client evolution will be lower commissions or flat fees. If customers can perform these services by themselves, they will expect to pay lower commissions. Agents may have to decide to segment services. Because some services or information can be directly obtained by the customer, agents may choose to offer services on an a la carte basis. A client may say, for example, I've already received leasing proposals from 3 landlords. I need your help negotiating with them, and I'll pay you $300 an hour for your time. That's a likely scenario. Changing scope of services. You will likely be helping your prospects find additional information or helping them analyze the information they've already assembled. If all of these, all or most of these implications turn out to be real, it would be fair to say that transparency has changed our size of our brokerage community, our fees, and even the way we're hired by our clients. That is disruption. So what do? The first thing is enhance your own value proposition. Make time to sit down and refine your value position. Then come up with succinct, clear-cut benefits you can offer to your clients. Think in terms of cost and efficiency. If you aren't sure where to start, try asking yourself, why do clients use brokers? What benefits do they seek? To what extent do our services match their needs? Monitor the tech savviness of your clients. Are they becoming more self-sufficient? Here's a way to test that. Make a list of your top 25 clients. Assign each one a tech-savvy score based on their use of technology. Create the score yourself. And put that list away for a year, and then regrade them in a year. Is transparency more evident? Do you see a trend? Automated valuations are coming to the commercial real estate industry. Access to transparent valuation information challenges an agent's value. People used to rely on agents to give them the valuation of a property. In the residential area, Zillow currently provides estimates of the value of single-family homes produced by their algorithms using comparable sales data. How long before they or other companies do the same with commercial property? Actually, a company called Bowery Valuation has raised $19 million to embed technology into the commercial property valuation process. Cushman & Wakefield has invested in Bowery and is now using their data to enhance their own valuations. GeoFi, a Dutch company, raised $33 million to create a commercial property valuation database, which will include comparable sales, and aerial photos. Skyline AI calls itself the artificial investment manager for commercial real estate, using AI to scour the blossoming amount of data about commercial properties and provide it in a file for each property in the country. These will not be restricted to brokers and will be available to anyone, including your clients. What happens when the buyer knows how much the property is worth before the agent is contacted? Does the seller perceive pricing the property for sale is a major component of the listing broker's value? Is the value of the broker reduced by the onset of automated valuations? Will major investors use automated valuations to then make agentless acquisitions of billions of dollars of commercial real estate, saving millions of dollars in commissions? We need to watch this trend. If it happens the way that it appears to be happening, we will encounter a serious challenge to the value of our services as commercial real estate brokers. There are some things to do if you perceive that automated valuations are coming. Meet with a local real estate appraiser. Ask them what they're seeing. Are there institutional clients eager to have quicker valuations at a lower fee because of automated valuation? Or are they still willing to pay the same fees to have full-blown appraisals? Contemplate your reliance on commodity-like properties, like single-tenant, triple-net properties, which is the area that I deal in. It is a commodity, essentially, and the more easily your property can be inserted into a regression analysis, the quicker a predictive algorithm will enable automated valuations. If you're dealing in a one-of-a-kind, unique properties, it may take longer to develop algorithms for automated valuations. The gig economy. How would the gig economy work in the commercial real estate arena? Imagine a website where a tenant posted its need for space. The posting includes the size, location, suggested floor plan, timing, duration, parking requirements, signage needs, and desired budget. Once posted, this opportunity is pushed out to landlords and their brokerage representatives. The recipients were instructed to respond by a specific date using a specific response template, and were given contact information. There is a startup company that is working to create this exact scenario. There is a completely different way to imagine the impact of the gig economy on commercial real estate. What if commercial brokers were to become the freelancers? What if users of commercial real estate services could shop for experts on specific segments of our service offerings? I can tell you that this has already happened. There's a company called Upwork, Upwork.com, where users can find experts to do lease abstracting, GIS mapping, negotiate real estate leases, prepare offering memorandums, do retail market analysis, etc. How is that going to affect our business? So how do you respond? Here are some ways to perceive if the gig economy is coming to your world. Try out Upwork. Is there some task that you regularly do that can be done remotely? Post a task and work through the selection process. When the task is complete, evaluate the experience. Is this the future? The 10x effect will also have a disrupting effect on commercial real estate. Real estate auctions. There was a time when only distressed commercial real estate was sold at auction. 10X now auctions non-distressed real estate. Since its inception in 2009, 10X has sold over 6,500 properties at auction. And that amount grows exponentially each year. It now has nearly 500,000 buyers registered to bid on commercial properties. The company now holds an auction about every 2 weeks. Approximately 40 to 50 properties are brought to market at each auction, and about 70% of those properties sell during the auction. Buyers don't need a broker to submit a bid on a property, and sellers don't need a broker to list with 10X. Some brokers rate 10X as the single most impactful force for a disruption of the commercial real estate industry over the next decade. They feel that the company may actually replace them. Here are some ideas if you're concerned about the 10X effect. Spend 15 minutes reviewing the 10X website. Look at it through the lens of a prospective seller. Is it compelling? When you observe the properties listed for sale on 10X, would your properties for sale fit into the 10X profile? Find the 10X representative for your region. Ask how it works and what the next steps might be. Give it a go. List or sell a property on 10X. You'll have a much better gauge of its potential disruption after you have gone through the process of concluding a deal on 10X. The next disruption may come from Amazon, the Amazon effect. Amazon sells everything. What is the likelihood of their getting into the commercial real estate business? Amazon currently has 40 billion with a B cash on hand. They are known for disrupting industries. They have mentioned the possibility that if they go into the real estate brokerage business, they will do it with salaried agents with a bonus when they close the deal, but nowhere near a full commission. The future. Do you think hotel reception clerks will continue to be needed to check you in? How many of you have stayed at a Sonder hotel recently? I did. I stayed at the Hotel Crescent in Beverly Hills last time I was in town, on the corner of Crescent and Brighton. You know that Sonder has no check-in clerks. You have to make your reservation online and provide a credit card. You're then given a room number online and a secret code which will open your room. Also open the front door if it's locked. There are no keys. Each room has a combination lock on the door. The front door to the hotel is open during the day and shuts about 9 p.m. So if you come in after 9, you use the code to open the front door. You use the code to access your hotel room. There was no need for a room clerk. The world is changing before our very eyes, and our business is no exception. That says prediction is very difficult, especially if it's about the future. I guess you can see that. And the irony is, how do you predict if it's not about the future? But it's not all doom and gloom. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad or hopeless or helpless. I'm trying to give you some food for thought about what the future of our business might look like. I could be entirely wrong, and none of what I have talked about will come to pass, although I think it is more likely than not. The idea of this talk is to give you an early warning. To be informed is to be prepared for what might come. You have time to think about each of these possible disruptions and can plan how best to deal with them. You might have your own better solutions than I have presented. I will say this, in the future, you will encounter disruption or creative destruction of our past ways of doing things so often that you will come to expect it. Any questions from the audience or from on Zoom? Okay.
Pretty much agree with you, Gary.
Okay. Fine.
Questions, thank
Then-
you. Questions, thank you.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So I'm going to conclude with this. If I can get it to play. Well, if you all know the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, I was going to play that, but it doesn't seem to be working. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. And I hope you all learn to adapt to the changes that are coming in the commercial real estate business. Thank you.
Gary, do you have a moment after this?
But
Do you have a moment after this? I want to talk to you about something that's not related to you. Oh, I we will own the desk.